The Giants are taking care of their own business. They are not getting any help from anybody else. The Dodgers are on this ridiculous run since acquiring Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. I think they're 41 and 13. And yet, during that time, they've only gained a game on the Giants because they have just not stopped. And last night, they didn't stop again. They sweep the Arizona Diamondbacks. Late night, LaMonte Wade Jr. does it again with a walk-off single. Just a huge win for the Giants. They fell behind early, but then came back and won this game with perseverance. Madison Bumgarner on the mound for the D-backs. So we'll get into all of that on today's Locked On Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants Baseball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on this show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, and I'm a lifelong fan. Thank you so much for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Locked On Giants is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Giants. This episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. Download the app and join me either on Saturday or Sunday. If there's a clinch situation, we'll do it then. Otherwise, we'll do Sunday regardless. The Giants could clinch tonight, actually. So anyway, join me on Spotify Green Room to get in on the action. And coming up on today's show, so much to get into. Just another unbelievable, relentless Giants win. It was not easy. This series against the D-backs was stressful from the first pitch to the last. The D-backs did not make it easy on the Giants. To me, it looked like a Giants team that was playing a little bit stiff because, honestly, it's not surprising. They would never admit to it, and maybe I'm wrong, but you've got the Dodgers breathing down your neck. Everybody knows how good that Dodgers team is. It's kind of ridiculous that the Dodgers have 103 wins and the Giants have 105, and we've still got games to go here. This race is just absurd, and I basically said this exact same thing yesterday, but you wouldn't really know it by looking at like MLB.com or anywhere like ESPN, MLB Network, whatever. They're more focused on the AL wildcard race, okay? So imagine if this was the Yankees and Red Sox duking it out. This would be non-stop news, but when it's West Coast teams, they don't get that kind of attention, except the media was ready to hype up Dodgers Padres so much before the season, when the season started, but then the Padres just fell flat on their faces, and Giants Dodgers is the actual kind of historic rivalry, and it doesn't get nearly the attention it deserves. And honestly, it's because of the Giants, right? If they were happy to do it when it was Padres Dodgers, they'd be happy to do it if it was Dodgers, if the Yankees were somehow involved, or the Mets, but the Giants get no respect, and I'm tired of it. 105 and 54 they are with 3 games to go, and the Padres are coming into town. Anyway, that's my little soapbox. But on today's show, I'm going to talk about the state of the race. As I keep saying, 2-game lead, 3 to play. So that means the Giants could clinch as early as tonight against the Padres. So we'll get into the state of the race, and then we'll talk about the specifics of this game, and then roster moves. Darin Ruf activated, some surprising pitching moves. Johnny Cueto was activated a little bit surprisingly. Didn't quite know he was fully ready to come back, but apparently he was. Jose Quintana was DFA'd. Tony Watson goes on the injured list. And then Madison Bumgarner making his first start in San Francisco in front of fans since leaving. after the 2019 season. So much to get into on the show. The state of the race, though, is where I want to focus for now. 2-game lead, 3 to play. So what that means, the Dodgers have 103 wins, 3 games remaining. So they can only win 106 games. The Giants are at 105. So that means if the Giants can find a way to just win one of the next 3 games against the Padres, the worst they could be at the end of the weekend is tied with the Dodgers. And what that would mean is that the Giants and Dodgers would play a game 163 in San Francisco on Monday to determine the winner of the division. The winner would play the winner of the wild card game, and that division series would start on Friday. The loser of a game 163 would play in the wild card game against the Cardinals. They would host that game against the Cardinals. So for the Giants, they would get to host a game 163 and they would get to host a wild card game. Obviously, I'm not hoping for a tie, but I'm just making the point. Win one game and that's the worst case scenario for you. But even if you only win one game and the Dodgers happen to just lose a single game, you've still clinched the division. So things are looking up for the Giants, and it was much needed last night that they were able to pull out this victory. It did not start off well. The Giants had one of their uglier innings of the entire season in the first inning, and the D-backs got 3 runs. Madison Bumgarner hit in the first inning. That's never a good thing. Scott Kazmir made the start, and it was just kind of disastrous. He left with an injury. So anyway, the Giants' magic number is 2, and what that means is that if they can just win 2 games, it does not matter what the Dodgers do in their 3 games. The Dodgers could sweep. If the Giants can just find a way to win 2 out of 3 against the Padres, they will win the National League West. And the fact is, nobody has won the National League West but the Dodgers since 2013. The last time another team won it was the Giants in 2012. So this is not a 60-game season. This is a full, legitimate 162-game season. So this is incredible. I mean, who would have thought this possible? Not even I would have thought that this was possible, and I was way higher on the Giants than most, I would say, coming into this season. I thought they would be above 500. I thought they would challenge for a wild card spot. But man, if you had told me that the Giants, I know it's not over, but if you had told me, let's say that the Giants had won the division in 2021, my first thought would be, okay, like, did the Dodgers kind of have a bad season? Did the Dodgers and Padres beat each other up so much that they were both in the low 90s, maybe 92 wins, and the Giants just sneaked in with 93 ahead of them? Is that what happened? But no, I mean, if you had told me that the Dodgers would finish with 103 plus wins, I would have basically told you it was next to impossible that the Giants would win the division. That said, I did say that a team like the Giants, they seemed primed to really exceed expectations. And we have seen, like with the A's and with the Rays, sometimes they just take off. Like the switch flips and teams just completely take off. And that's what we've seen from this Giants team, but possibly more than any team ever, like beating expectations. It's just incredible what they're doing. So coming up next, we'll get into the specifics of the game, talk about late night LaMonte getting it done again. As I said, though, the first inning being ugly, the fact that the Giants had trouble with the D-backs, Chris Bryant and Evan Longoria continuing to struggle, and Madison Bumgarner returning to San Francisco. So much more to continue to talk about, so stay tuned for that. But first, did you know that Built Bar has so many delicious flavors? There's really something for everyone. When you talk to a Built Bar fan, they're definitely passionate about their favorites. If you don't know the Built Bar flavors, you're missing out. Coconut, cherry, raspberry, mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel, strawberry, orange, cookies and cream, German chocolate. Want to know what my favorite flavor is? It's really hard to choose. Today, I'm going to say raspberry because it's just amazing how the Built Bars are able to taste like candy bars, but they come in with a healthy profile, and that is just so important to me. I honestly would not be eating a bar that was high in sugar as a protein bar, but these bars have only 4 to 5 grams of sugar with 17 to 18 grams of protein. Go to builtbar.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off your next order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at builtbar.com. All right, here we go. We are going to talk about the game itself. The Giants pulling off a tense, tight game with the Arizona Diamondbacks. But before we get into it, thank you again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Again, we are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, so check us out there. I do understand we continue to have some lagging issues on YouTube. I apologize for that. If you're watching on YouTube and it's lagging and that's bothering you, just know anywhere else you check out the podcast, those issues do not exist. So we're working to fix those, but that's the state of things right now. So anyway, getting into the game itself and all these roster moves, I mean, let's start with that. Darin Ruf was activated just in time. I said on Twitter that Darin Ruf is Madison Bumgarner's new Kike Hernandez. Now, that's kind of an inside comment. I don't know if everyone is following what I'm saying there, but Kike Hernandez was a lefty killer who just always seemed to do well against Madison Bumgarner. And I see Darin Ruf as the same way. They played each other last year. Madison Bumgarner did make a start in San Francisco last season. There were no actual fans in the stands, just the cardboard cutouts. But Darin Ruf had a good game. I think, yeah, he homered against Madison Bumgarner in that game. And last night, Darin Ruf just hit a couple of rockets against Madison Bumgarner again. And there's something about Darin Ruf's swing path. Madison Bumgarner throws down in the zone and, the ball's working into the hitter. And Darin Ruf has the perfect kind of swing path to take on Madison Bumgarner. And he did last night. So Ruf coming off the injured list last night with a lefty on the mound. It is Bumgarner, but he's just a lefty in this regard. Was huge, and he played a big role in the Giants winning this game. He went 2 for 4, drove in a run, probably scored at least a couple runs himself. And Austin Slater had a big game in the leadoff spot. He hasn't had the same type of impact that we saw last short season, hitting against left-handed pitching. He's certainly done well at times this year, but for the most part, it's been a disappointing year for Slater. But as I see this, Darin Ruf did not score any runs. Austin Slater went 3 for 3 and scored 3 runs. So that was absolutely huge. And, I lost my train of thought. My point was that Slater did not, however, have a good start to this game defensively. So we'll get into that in a minute. But the other roster moves, Johnny Cueto was activated, and he pitched out of the bullpen for the first time in his career last night. And he had some comments where he basically said he wasn't that comfortable with it, but he's willing to help the team. He's kind of set in his ways and not one of those guys who's just going to say, I'll do whatever it takes. He's going to make his comments, and that's fine. But, there's a reason he's trying to make the case that he belongs on a postseason roster. And honestly, after the way he pitched last night, he might have a point, but I don't think he's going to make any starts unless something goes wrong. But to have him in the bullpen, I mean, he went 2 1/3, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. He was pretty darn solid. So a good outing for Cueto in a much needed kind of role with Scott Kazmir only going a third of an inning. Disastrous start for Scott Kazmir. So again, we'll get into that in a second. But in order to get those two on the roster, Jose Quintana designated for assignment. Some of you might be like, who? What? He was on the Giants? He didn't pitch all that much with the Giants, but he was a waiver claim about a month ago, and he pitched some innings for the Giants. If they win the World Series, guess what? Jose Quintana gets a World Series ring. But for now, he's designated for assignment. It thins them out at a time when they were going to rely. I mean, Scott Kazmir, let's face it, this may have been his last outing with the San Francisco Giants. So I get it. They're at the end of the regular season, so I guess they just didn't see Quintana making that postseason roster. And Tony Watson, though, put on the injured list with a left shoulder strain. Obviously, his left shoulder is his throwing shoulder. I guess it wouldn't matter if you had a strain in your other shoulder as a pitcher. But left shoulder strain for Watson, and Kapler said it's, quote, possible he returns at some point in the postseason. So that is not good. Tony Watson was looking like a important kind of late inning reliever who could bridge the gap between the middle innings and the late innings and potentially get you a big out against a lefty in a tight spot in the playoffs and get some righties out too. They went out and targeted this guy at the trade deadline for a reason. So the fact that he goes on the injured list here is not great news for the Giants, especially given that they're also missing Jake McGee for the moment. So getting McGee back becomes even more important than it already was, although Camilo Doval's emergence makes McGee's return a little less urgent. Doval has been really good kind of shutting down games lately, if that makes sense. Late in the game lately. So anyway, that was kind of the state of things. The Giants also announced that the pitching rotation coming up is going to be Anthony DeSclafani, Kevin Gausman, and Logan Webb. And what's interesting about that is that they're giving Gausman an extra day of rest. So he would have been scheduled to start today, but they give him this extra day of rest, and that takes him out of potentially pitching the wild card game. And so that's a little bit, I don't want to say alarming, but it does make you wonder if something's going on with Kevin Gausman, because what it means is that if the Giants are in the wild card game, it would be DeSclafani and or Wood. And I think you'd rather have Kevin Gausman, or they would want to hold him back for a potential division series game one. I don't know, but I hope they don't go to the wild card game because, DeSclafani and Wood, I get it. It's the Cardinals. You can kind of throw anybody out there and you're going to be favored, but obviously you'd want your best pitcher out there if you end up in that game. So Logan Webb also wouldn't be able to start that game because he's going to start on Sunday. Unless, it's not possible now for the Dodgers to clinch before the last day of the season. So Webb is going to make that start because even if the Dodgers win the next two and the Giants lose the next two, they'll go into the last day of the season tied. So that's another scenario to talk about, is that the worst the Giants can be entering Sunday is tied in the NL West. So Logan Webb is going to make that start no matter what. They're not going to hold him back for a potential wildcard game. That they would, in that scenario, they would be pitching him to avoid going to the wildcard game. And let's see. So, they could hold him back if the Giants clinch early, though. That's the thing. If the Giants, they could clinch as soon as tonight. So I hope the fans make it out to the ballpark. Final, series of the year of the regular season, they're still drawing in the 20,000s. Capacity is in the low 40,000s. So I do understand there is a pandemic going on. So anyone who doesn't feel comfortable going, I get it. But still, the optics, it would just look nice if the Giants were able to draw bigger crowds this weekend as they go for a clinch as soon as possibly tonight. Giants going for, tying a franchise record with 106 wins. They're going for the NL West. This is just crazy stuff. So I hope people are able to make it out to the ballpark. So anyway, coming up next, I guess next we'll talk about the details of the game in a little more detail. And we will get into Madison Bumgarner, Chris Bryant, and Evan Longoria continuing to struggle. And then we'll kind of set the stage for LaMonte Wade Jr.'s walk-off in the bottom of the ninth. So all of that is coming up next. But first, we're back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey Giants fans, this is Ben Kaspick with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code BASEBALL and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use promo code BASEBALL to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code BASEBALL to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. That's code BASEBALL. All right, as promised, we are going to talk about the game a little bit and then get you set for the weekend, I guess. I mean, there's a lot to pack in. These shows have been so much fun this season. Next time we talk, hopefully, will be the end of the regular season. The only chance that it wouldn't be on Monday is that game 163 technically is still the regular season, and that would be in the case of a tie. So anyway, let's get into the game itself. First inning was a disaster. Scott Kazmir came out of the gates. Brandon Crawford made a great play on the first hitter of the game, which was a good omen, you would think, but no. Scott Kazmir then just started walking people. His whole thing is that he's a command specialist. So when he's out here just ball one, ball two, 3-1, ball four, not a good sign. And so he's walking people. And then, a couple walks, I think. And then there's a pop-up that Donovan Solano at second base is going out for kind of over his right shoulder. Austin Slater's in center field against a left-handed pitcher, of course. He comes in and he's just kind of looking at Solano. It's a long run for Slater, and it was kind of an in-between play. But you are taught as an outfielder to take charge of those situations. It's a much tougher play for the infielder going back on the ball than for you coming in. And not only are you taught that as an outfielder, you're taught that even more as a center fielder. And I don't know exactly what position Slater played in college at Stanford, but he's in the major leagues, and I get it. He didn't play center much before this new regime took over, so maybe he's not so used to that. But anyway, it's something you're taught as an outfielder, and especially when you're playing center. Take control. And Slater, too timid, and we've seen that. This is at least the third time I can remember seeing Slater fail to take charge on a fly ball that led to the ball either dropping in or almost dropping in. There was the collision with Alex Dickerson in New York, where Slater and Dickerson were kind of converging in left center field, and nobody took charge, and they kind of ran into each other, and the ball dropped. And that was in the ninth inning. I want to say it was like a one-run game. And then in Chicago, Slater kind of crashed into Chris Bryant. And then last night, there's this pop-up with Solano, and Slater just kind of, at the last minute, looks at Solano, and Solano just can't make the play. So I put that on Slater. He's just got to take charge. And then he picks up the ball and, because there were two guys on, and it should have been caught, could have been possibly called an infield fly, but wasn't. He picks up the ball and throws to third where there's a force out, but it's a much longer throw. Second base was like right in front of him. He could have just thrown to second and gotten an easy out there, but he makes a more difficult play to third. Evan Longoria was not on the base at that point. I'm not sure exactly why. He probably should have been, but anyway, he made the more difficult throw, and they didn't get the runner. So it was just a hideous start. And then there was a ground ball to Flores after that, and there was a force out at second base, and instead of throwing to where his momentum was going, Flores turns around and makes a much more difficult throw to Kazmir, who wasn't covering first base correctly. He didn't just dart over to first base as you're taught on ground balls to the right side. As a pitcher, he hesitated and was late covering and they don't get the force out on the hitter, the batter runner, and then Kazmir pulls a hamstring. So disaster. Just a ugly, ugly, ugly sequence in the first inning for the Giants. Thankfully, they're able to get out of it, allowing only 3 runs. It definitely could have been worse. Kervin Castro came in. He did walk in a run, but he inherited a bases loaded situation with 1 out. Got a strikeout, I think. Trying to remember exactly what happened, but he got through it, allowing just 1 run, so he kind of saved the day. His only walk of his major league career, though, came at a bad time. It did walk in a run. So anyway, Giants fell into a hole early, but they kind of just said, hey, look, we can score 3 runs in a game, so let's hold the line there. We're going to score more than 3. This is the D-backs. We've got this good lineup against a lefty pitcher with a lot of righties in there, and they could come back, and they did. And they only allowed 1 more run the rest of the way. So 3 runs in the first, 1 run in the next 8 innings. The Giants' bullpen just continues to be a real strength. Tyler Rogers, 2 scoreless innings in the 8th and 9th. So good comeback for him after having some difficult outings recently. But a couple of hitters in the Giants lineup, Evan Longoria and, how am I blanking on their names? Evan Longoria and Chris Bryant. A lot of information in my brain right now. Evan Longoria and Chris Bryant, couple of righties who absolutely should be killing left-handed pitching. Like they're starting every day right now. To me, there's like these ripple effects from Brandon Belt being on the injured list. I guess Bryant and Longoria are not among them, but they're not having the platoon advantage as often as I would like, and it's all a ripple effect from Brandon Belt going down. But Longoria and Bryant are just not getting it done right now, and when they're facing a lefty, that's when they have to shine. So it's tough enough when you're facing tough righties, but when you get the chance to face a lefty, both of them went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. So it was not a great night for them, but Buster Posey had a big hit. Brandon Crawford hit a home run against Bumgarner on a 3-0 pitch. And Wilmer Flores had a big double to lead off the bottom of the 9th. And yeah, the rest was kind of history. The Giants, Kurt Casale drew a huge walk with runners on first and second and 1 out in that bottom of the 9th. So much to talk about. Madison Bumgarner got a standing ovation when he came to the plate in the first inning. He said on the ovation, quote, "It was really cool. This place, I've said it a bunch. It obviously means a lot to me and my family. I don't take that for granted. I enjoyed that, and I'm very thankful for that." So it was a nice reunion. Bumgarner got his ovation, and the Giants won, most importantly. So anyway, LaMonte Jr. played hero. Facing a lefty, he got it done with 2 strikes. He said he was just trying to put the ball in play, and he did, and it worked out beautifully. Late night LaMonte does it again. It was his 6th game-tying or go-ahead hit in the 9th inning this season, which is the most by any MLB player in a season in the last 40 years. And that's just the 9th inning. He's done it in the 10th inning too. So I'd like to see 10th and beyond. So I'd like to see some of those stats. Anyway, coming up this weekend, my goodness, it's the biggest games for the Giants in years. They are going to be taking on the Padres. It's Anthony DeSclafani, as I said. Padres being listed as TBD for tonight. Joe Musgrove against Kevin Gausman on Saturday. Logan Webb against TBD on Sunday. So huge games. Just find a way to win tonight and then worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow, Joe Musgrove is tough. So we'll be back on Monday, hopefully talking about a Giants clinch. So anyway, once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. The show is Locked On Giants. Thank you for making it your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So thank you so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed today's show. You are now Locked On Giants.